What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Foundation First Fitness Show. This is episode 94. It's been a couple of weeks. It's been a week or two since I last posted an episode. Been really just trying to focus on getting some of our online stuff ready, website, different types of content we're putting up, things like that, restructuring our content a bit. But yeah, that's basically what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. Really interesting topic kind of popped into my head, and I really wanted to touch on it. And I think there's an important reason why I wanted to touch on it now. Over the last couple of days, as you start going on, you start like listening to other podcasts, listening to other things. One of the ones I've listened to a couple of times here and there, in and out, was the Joe Rogan experience. So Joe Rogan audio experience, something like that, Joe Rogan experience. It's just basically his podcast. And he had someone on, and I'm not going to get into the detail because that's not important, but it was essentially the person was discussing training and why instead of training, legs one day, 1 or 2 days a week, you should be training it 4 or 5 times a week. The way to do that is by, instead of going to 10 reps, let's say you're taking 100 pounds and you can only do 10 reps with it, you would only do 5 so that you wouldn't exhaust yourself, and that would allow you to train all 5 days. Here's the dilemma that we usually run into, because I get that a lot as a question. Dealing with hockey players, dealing with athletes, you're always being asked, how can I squeeze more out of the tank without suffering and without taking away from potential progress and without taking away from, I guess, other areas of things that I should be doing or could be doing, or am I missing out? And I think that's one of the things that people usually get is, I'll usually get the question, I'll usually get almost like this kind of a guilt, not this guilt, but almost this fear approach or fear-based questions from clients. They'll say, hey, I don't want to miss out on my opportunity. I don't want to miss out on not being able to perform. This is a really important year for me. This is really important for me. I need to make sure that I get to that point. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be athletes. Everybody can usually get that. If you're someone that's looking to make a difference, the problem you're usually going to walk into is essentially not being able to get the result as fast as you'd like. We all want this immediate gratification. We all want the results to happen really, really quickly. And unfortunately, doing more is not necessarily always the solution. So when it comes to training, I think the thing I want to maybe make clear is when it comes to how often you should be training a specific muscle group, or how often you should be training that muscle area, that part of your body, how many times should you be weight training? There's so many different variations of it, and it's it's a really tough topic to cover. So if you are at home, if you are at home training, because a lot of people right now are training at home if they are training. If not, they're just going to the park, trying to go for runs, things like that. So I've spoken about the runs and how often you should do that. So I'm going to put that to the side. How often you should be working out at home is now probably a more prevalent question, more prevalent topic, because I think people are starting to realize that it's a lot harder to do just a pure upper body workout at home and get those really heavy results, the same similar results. So you're going to have to be a little bit more creative about that. And so you really start asking yourself, like, how often should I be working out? If I'm working at my whole body, blah, 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 and all this stuff. What I usually tell people is when it comes to working out, you want to train and you want to respect your body and listen to your body. Your body's going to give you warning signs. The warning signs are going to be soreness. It's usually the one we normally get. Soreness, pain, fatigue. Those are the 3 main ones you're going to feel. So soreness, pain, fatigue. If you got soreness, it means, hey, maybe we need a couple more days to recover. Pain, usually there's a soreness there. We've done a little bit too much. We've overshot it. It's not the time to keep pushing forward. Out of fear, it's the time to sit back and relax. Fatigue. Are you getting enough of the right things in to recover? And are you recovering enough? You might be training really, really hard, but if you're not eating enough foods, your body hasn't recovered from that workout. If you're not eating enough of the right foods, that is, your body's not recovering from that workout. If you're not sleeping enough, your body's not recovering from that workout. You're going to need to take a step back to be able to come back out of this a little bit better, a little bit stronger, and a little bit more prepared for that next workout. So that's really what it comes down to. So you got to listen to your body, listen to the 3 warning signs I just mentioned. Number 2, you have to understand what you're looking to do. What is your training goal? What is the goal of your training? So let's take it back. Let me get back to that podcast episode that I was talking about earlier, and the notion of doing half the reps instead of full reps. Instead of going to fatigue, do half the reps to be able to do them every single day. So essentially what the premise was, take a step back, don't go as hard, do it more frequently instead of higher intensity less frequently. So when it comes to training, you have to look at it from what side and what your goal is. Not weight, not muscle, not strength, not any of it. It's what are you trying to train? I think the person, the guest on that show, and you may know who it is, it doesn't really matter who it is, but you may know which show I'm referring to, which episode I'm referring to. I think the confusion that we always have to think about, and I think the confusion there in that statement was that you have to remember that you're training one of 2 things. You're either training capacity or you're training a skill. If you're training capacity, it means you're trying to push your limits to see if you can create bigger boundaries, wider boundaries. If you can push your limits, that's going to be training capacity. If you're pushing your ability to perform a movement and the cleanliness of that movement, that's a skill. And a skill can be trained on a daily basis because it's not as vigorously taxing on your body, and it's not going to do the same amount of punishment on your body as something that's training your capacity would. So capacity would be like if I take a lunge and I load it up, or I take a squat and I load it up, or I bench really, really heavy, or I go hard on the pull-ups. That's going to be capacity. It's testing strength. It's testing my endurance of those muscles when it's loaded very well. It's loaded quite heavily. When it comes to skill would be, a lot of you who have been following some of my Instagram or YouTube stuff, you see me put out stuff like how to create more mobility in the shoulder, or how to create hip mobility, or how to stabilize the knee, or how to stabilize the foot. Very small detailed exercise, which require a little bit more attention to details, just trying to balance, things like that. That's a skill. That can be trained every single day. But if you want to do 10 pull-ups, or if you want to get to doing 15 pull-ups, you can't just do 5 every single day forever, because you're never getting anywhere close to 15, right? If you want to maintain your ability to do 5 pull-ups every single day, then by all means do 5 pull-ups every single day, but you're not training capacity, right? You're training to maintain that. You could put that in skill set. You're training to maintain that skill set. The skill set of being able to lift your body a certain level, lift your body a certain amount, being able to control your body weight to a certain extent, more of a skill set. Capacity, it could fall into capacity, but really when you're trying to train capacity, means you're pushing your limit because you're trying to go further. You're trying to push the boundaries. That's not something you can train every single day because your body needs to recover, right? You want to test your limits and you want to push your limits. You've got to be able to do it at a specific time, rest, recover properly, and try it again. I've been doing this for enough years that I know that if we did 5 reps of pull-ups 5 days a week, and you can normally do 10 pretty easily, but you're trying to get to 15, you doing it 5 every single day, or me doing it 10 resting and then trying to do 11, then resting, and then you're the second scenario wins every time. There's no question. I understand the point of being able to practice that skill set and never be sore and never feel. I think there's also another confusion of when you're sore, you're not going to be doing the same type of workout in season when you're preparing for something. And I think this specific thing was about combat training. And I think that's a different scenario. If your workouts are impeding your performance in your specific sport, yes, you need to bring them down. But that's more of as you get closer to season, you would be worrying about that. One of the things I do with my hockey players is, number one, they're taking a break early on in the off season. So whatever is going to cause them the most soreness, muscle building, capacity building, usually they're not going to be on the ice very much. they're probably not going to be on the ice for the first portion of their training. As we get into power and more sports specific, the amount of soreness that they're going to be feeling is going to be a lot less. That way they can get on the ice and not feel that kind of fatigue level and not have it set in so much in their performance on the ice. When we're in season, it's literally just a maintenance thing. It's a tiny bit of legs, tiny bit of upper body, some sprinkled in some core, and then skill set of movement capacity, and that's it. It's really maintenance. I'm doing the 5 instead of 10. I'm doing the 5 instead of 12. I'm doing the 50 pounds instead of 100. That's the mentality I'm going with. So it's allowing me to be more skillful. It's allowing me to be able to do it all the time to maintain that capacity. If you're looking to push the capacity, you're going to have to recover. It's unfortunate, but you're going to have to do it. You're not going to be missing out on something. What I would tell you to do is if you want to supplement that, supplement it with skill set. Supplement it with the things you can. And doing that is going to allow you to actually progress quicker instead of constantly trying to do that same thing. Because when you're squatting, there's so many components that make up a good squat. Ankle stability, knee stability, ankle mobility, knee stability, hip mobility, there's spine control, there's core control, there's posture, there's association of one to the other, dissociation from your hip to your back. There's so many different factors that can be trained on a skill set basis that would really complement this squatting very well, but wouldn't slow down your recovery because it's nowhere near hard enough to do. It's such an extreme, but so complementary to what your squat's going to be. So when it comes to deciding when you should be or how much you should be training or how often you should be training, I'm going to tell you 2 things. Number 1, it's always listen to your body and see where you're at. See where your recovery is at. Number 2, really understand where you are. Are you trying to build a skill set or are you trying to push capacity? If you're trying to maintain and sit in the middle, then it's fine. Do it often. It doesn't really matter. Just listen to your body. When your body says recover. When it says don't recover and you can keep going, then keep going. But listen to those parts that you're going to need to know. So really those 2 real points kind of they're interconnected very well. You need to make sure that you're applying both of them at the same time. That's going to be the way that you're really going to be able to make that difference and that incredible shift that you were trying to make in your ability to train and progress and get towards your goals. It's really going to come to that understanding of how often you should be training. So it's really impossible for me to tell you. Here's what I will do. I would say that what I do with a lot of my athletes is very simple. I always train my athletes to look at a 4-day schedule. So I'll do 2 legs, 2 upper. So 2 lower, 2 upper. And then in those 2 and then within the last 3 days, there'll be 2 days of potentially mobility or core, depending on how hard that week is and depending on where we are in our fluctuation of our waving. So it's not consistent. Some days will be a down week, so I'll increase the number of days, but then some days will be in our up week in terms of workout intensity, so I'll drop the other days off. So it really is just where we fluctuate to allow the recovery to happen at the optimal amount so that they're progressing properly and we're able to squeeze in the skill sessions as much as we possibly can. So it's a little bit of a play on intensity, which is why I'm saying if you're just going out there and trying to figure it out on your own, sometimes those intangible things of when to rest, when not to rest, when to work out, when not to work out are really important. It's really balancing the workload that you're putting your body up against, because some people go really intense, some people don't even touch it. It's really trying to find that fine line, which is why having a skilled program or having a specially designed program for you is really where you're going to notice that biggest difference. And I think that's where that entire idea came from, that, 5 reps instead of 10 to try to prolong it. At the end of the day, I just don't think that's a feasible way of looking at it. I think it's a valiant effort to try to categorize them or justify doing it every single day. I just don't think you're going to be yielding the same results. That's just not how I think the human body works. I think it's more of if you're going to push it, you need to recover. You need to rest it. That's just how we do it. That's just how the body grows. It's the fastest way it's always been growing. I don't think that slight change is going to make any difference because we've been doing maintenance workouts for the longest period of time, and really the performance levels are just not there. If you have any questions, want to know about loading, and how and when to train, how often to train, hit me up in the comments section. Question of the day is, how often are you working out now, and are you working out more days during the week than you were prior to this quarantine period? And yeah, until that next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep building that foundation.